Never, ever take anything seriously that a professional athlete puts on their social media that looks, sounds, or feels like some kind of hint, except when you want it to be true. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates where you found this. Terrell Edmunds, who's not super active on Twitter and Instagram, and as a reporter, you have to follow all of these accounts, including all of the silliness and roll your eyes material that comes along, because you never know when there might be something substantive. I'm not sure this was, but for TE to put on his Instagram yesterday, thankful, with a little prayer emoji there, sure sounded like he was, thankful. And in addition to that, in his Instagram story, he made a remark to some effect about how hard work pays off, and now that it's paid off, he's going to continue to be humble and stay at it and whatever else. It sounds like what you say after you have a contract agreement. Okay? Now, it might not be. I'm not him. I'm not his agent. I'm not the Steelers. And I'm not an Instagram mind reader. However, it's fun to share that kind of stuff. And it's fun in particular where it relates to TE, because I think this team needs to sign this player. Not wants. I don't see it as a want. I see it as a need. And I see it on multiple levels. I'm going to share those with you this morning. One is that TE has been Minkah Fitzpatrick's partner, obviously. With Minkah, you have a first-time All-Pro. You want to make sure that he has the tools that he needs to continue playing at his level. Otherwise, you're wasting one of your two best assets on the entire roster. Okay, we can agree on that much, right? We can agree no matter what you thought of TE being a first-round pick, and I know that stigma sticks with people forever because you're expected to be Troy Polamalu if you're a first-round safety. TE's never going to be that guy. He never was that guy. He's not a splash guy. He's not even necessarily a great pass coverage guy. What he is a great partner for Minkah. Let's not pretend that matters. Two, TE's coming off a season that silenced all but the most cynical of his critics, all but those people who just can't ever acknowledge that they're wrong about anything. What can you expect at Point Park University in downtown Pittsburgh? Respect, rigor, relevance. That's the Point Park Pledge. You'll be treated with respect while being challenged and supported academically to graduate with career-ready, relevant skills. Visit pointpark.edu to learn more. Those can't be helped. Those are the ones who think that TE should have been Troy, like from the first snap he took and never looked back. Nothing you can do about that. If you paid attention to him and you know your football, and if you press play on a show called Daily Shot of Steelers, you probably do, then you know what I'm talking about. Because he was steady, he was smart, he was physical, he was reliable when it comes to tackling, which is a pretty big deal in this defense because you weren't necessarily getting it from your inside linebackers. And he's as reliable overall as anyone on the entire roster. And I'm talking about for years now. TE doesn't miss football games. He's as durable as it gets. And that's saying something for an individual who performs with a punishing style. Number 3, and it is not that in order of priority, because I think number 3 is going to be a big deal in 2023 because you might see 3 safeties in the defense again. Now, of course, that plan got scuttled big time with Demonte Casey's injury. And we'll see what his status is with the Steelers moving forward. But they really liked him, and you started to see why when he came back late in the season. The 3 safety set The Steelers aren't exactly at the forefront or the vanguard with it, but there are other teams that have kind of paved the way there, and you could tell that between Mike Tomlin, Terrell Austin, and of course Brian Flores being here, that they were gravitating toward it. They were even looking at it as far back as training camp. And to hear them talk about it, they were super excited about it, and they were super disappointed when they couldn't do it. And I got to tell you, I just, look, I'll always acknowledge bias when it's in play. I'm a TE guy. Love the guy off the field. Think he's just terrific. Think he's got character oozing, not just from the performances that you see on the field, but off the field. He is as passionate as anyone in that locker room about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's where the story gets even better. Because if you go back to around this time last year, you'll recall this, the Steelers pretty much let him walk. They said, you want to test free agency? Okay, go right ahead and do that. And he was out there. And then he was out there. And then he was out there some more. And then the water started running out. And it was starting to look pretty bad. And he came back to the Steelers and signed a 1-year, $2.5 million contract. Nowhere near what he thought he'd get. And understanding here that it was not a safeties market. Okay, safety as a position has, for whatever reason, gone into one of those cycles where it's not valued unless you are a Minka type. But he came back, and some people described it as coming back, with his tail between his legs, or coming back humbled or whatever. He didn't do any of that. Okay, I can attest to that personally. He didn't do any of that. He came back as proud as ever, chin up, and just said, I'm going to bet on myself. And I'm going to bet on myself right here where I want to be. I'm going to show them what I'm worth. I'm going to show them how much I love being here, how much I love being Minka's teammate, how much I love playing behind these other guys and TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and all these others and Cam Sutton and everybody else. And he did. And he did. That is a success story to the extreme in the National Football League. I love it. There's nothing about Terrell Edmunds that is anything but a success story, including as a first-round pick of the Steelers. I hope that's what he meant. We'll find out soon enough, I guess. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot of Steelers is brought to you by the personal injury law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George, LGKG. They represent people who've been hurt in car accidents, who need workers' comp, who need to file medical malpractice claims. The lawyers at LGKG have been designated super lawyers for over 15 years. That's a real thing that's reserved for the top 5% of attorneys across Pennsylvania. To learn more about them, visit lgkg.com or call 888-842-5454. LGKG. Today's J1Q comes from John in Jacksonville, who says, DK, I've been goofing around with different mock draft simulators recently, and while it's not a commonly stated need, when I get to the second round, I got to tell you, I'm seeing some pretty tempting tight ends there. What kind of advantage would a team with 2 starter quality tight ends have? For instance, could this open up things in the red zone? John, I have a whole long list of ways that I would answer your question, but I'm going to start with the end. And that is, they're not drafting a tight end in the top 2 picks. Unless, like, Travis Kelce's got a clone in this draft and he doesn't. You're not going to see the Steelers look at that position. I really, really believe that. Couple of reasons for that. One is that they feel, how do I put this? Zach Gentry had told me after the season that he really was doubtful that he'd return. He was nervous about it. He was uncomfortable even talking about it. He really loves it in Pittsburgh, doesn't want to leave, but hadn't gotten any real signal from management. And then, like 3 weeks later, the vibes that I was getting from that direction were very, very different. So it appears, at least to me, that Gentry will be back. Now, is Gentry your second star tight end that you're talking about, John? No, of course he isn't. He's pretty limited offensively, even though that memo hasn't yet gotten to Matt Canada. What he's become, and this is a nice little irony, is a terrific blocking tight end. And the reason I call it an irony is because he arrived here with a very different reputation. And it was Mike Tomlin, more than anyone else, more than James Daniels, more than anyone who actually works with the offense, or specifically the tight ends, who ensured that Gentry would become an outstanding blocking tight end, to become a Matt Spaeth type. And then along the way, Connor Hayward shows up. And by season's end, as we all saw, Connor Hayward started making some real live football plays. So what you might have, in lieu of the 2-star tight ends, is have 1-star type tight end. We'll see what Pat Freiermuth becomes. But 2 other guys that offer you different dynamics to the same position, and who can, to an extent, be interchangeable. Because what we saw from Gentry is that he's a reliable blocker. He can help contribute to your running game. And in being fair here, he's made some plays. Okay? He didn't make the kind of plays that Hayward was making down the stretch. But then he's a much better blocker than Hayward is. Hayward is still very much working on the blocking aspect of it, not to mention the special teams aspect of it and everything else here. So if you're the Steelers and you have draft priorities, I would hope that tight end is at or near the bottom. If you're the Steelers and you have cap priorities, I would hope that tight end is at or near the bottom, because you can keep Gentry for not very much and you still have Hayward on his rookie deal for a good while. And the same applies to Freiermuth. It would be very nice to not have to spend a gazillion dollars at that position. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.